I am unashamed. What about you?
Welcome back to Unashamed. Got some guests coming on later. We're super excited about. We have been blessed with some guests.
Yeah, I've noticed it. Well,
you notice that? I mean, it's just been, and I don't know that we're necessarily looking. It's just like people we've run into in life and stuff has happened. And
I've noticed God is real good.
We've needed it because Zach has just AWOL.
Yeah, God's real good at orchestrating meetings.
Yeah,
people.
Yeah,
so
divine appointments.
The older I get, the less I believe in accidents.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, we've lost Zach. I'm not sure.
Well, he says he's doing a funeral today, so that's why he can't be with us. So I guess
really?
He's doing a funeral for somebody in Georgia. So we'll have to hear about it next time we have him on. So I preached yesterday, Jays.
Yeah.
My sermon, but I told the story at the beginning of the sermon a couple of weeks ago, or a month ago, last time I preached. Pearl, who's my little 6-year-old granddaughter, she comes down, sits in my lap. And this kind of good because you're tired. You just preach, and they were doing responses. And so I just kind of sitting there. She sat in my lap.
She looked post-sermon.
And she looked up at the screen, and it said, Jesus is greater, ... And then whatever. Our whole series in Hebrews, which you started.
Mm.
And you even said when you started, it's hard to find a word when you're talking about Jesus that really fits, nothing seems like it's big enough. You said that when we were doing it.
Like the NIV translation, all those times says better.
Better, right.
But, the more I read, the more you study deeper, you're like, I think we're having trouble finding an English word to describe
exactly
how better or greater.
And in fact, I think we started calling it better. And when you made that comment, we changed it to greater. But anyway, she's sitting there. She's 6, but she's very spiritually in tune. And she looked up at the screen. She said, Pap, why does that say Jesus is greater? Shouldn't it say Jesus is greatest?
Yeah.
And I was like, You know
what's sad,
Al? That's a good point, bro.
I had the same thought. So when you and 6-year-olds are tracking, it'd be really good or really bad.
Well, it says a lot about your mindset. But now you will like this one, Jase. Jesus is greater, ... forever. That was the name of my sermon yesterday. Because it was Hebrews 12:18, which starts the section about the kingdom. That picture of the kingdom. You've come to Mount Zion. You've come to heavenly Jerusalem. Thousands of angels in joyful assembly.
I think that's the theme of the whole.
It is. And so I started with your favorite verse, the one you sign all your stuff with, Hebrews 13:8.
Love it.
Jesus, and this is the last verse, but I did it first. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. And so I even named the sermon for next week, even though I'm not preaching it. If I was, my last sermon would be Jesus is greater for everyone. Because, right after verse 8, he goes into that, him going outside the camp. And the idea that it was outside of the system to be able to be available for all men. I thought, man, Jesus is greatest for everyone, which was the way I would.
You look carefully. We've been studying Ephesians. The Apostle Paul talked about some of his problems, as a prisoner of the Lord. They've got him in jail. I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you've received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. That's what Jesus was all about. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. One body, one Spirit, if you just want to just get it down. Just as you were called to one hope when you were called. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father, of who's over all and through all and to all. That's a pretty good condensed version of what the Apostle Paul wanted us to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went over to Dad's class yesterday since I was there and I was preaching because I want to meet, people that they come from all over to Dad's class, the Unashamed Bible Study. And they were here from several different states. And then about, maybe 4 of them got baptized yesterday?
4, I think 5, maybe.
4 or 5, yeah. Which is always great because that's how we start, now with Dad and Joe. And anybody wants to come and be baptized, we're like, yeah, come on. That's how we like to start things off on Sunday. So it was exciting yesterday.
Well, it made me think your sermon, You should have had that song by Chris Tomlin, that "Holy Forever." I think come out a couple of years ago. But,
That was a good one.
but that, when you talk about it being greater, we actually listened online. First, I heard a sermon. Oh, it was on the resurrection, by the way, which made me think when it said Zach was doing a funeral. Because the guy I was listening to, he was basically talking about his life, and he took his kids, because he was from Australia. He took his kids like on a little nostalgia, go back in time, let me show you how I was raised, and it culminated with showing, his grandparents at a cemetery, and they didn't have like a normal capstone, it was a cross, and at the bottom of it said, "Thy will be done." And so he spent a lot of time talking about what that meant. But in the process, it made me think, when you think there's 8 billion people here, or a little bit over 8 billion, but when you think of all the people that have been here, and I looked it up, they claim there's been over 100 billion people on the earth, which is kind of sobering. Because if you do the math, the people are alive are representing 8% of the people that have ever been. So that's why when you say, well, Zach's doing a funeral today, that's going to keep happening.
Yeah,
in fact,
do one every day.
Yeah, the preacher said that his daughter, when they were looking, they were kind of making a few funnies, at the cemetery. But his daughter said, "Yeah, look, because it was just as far as you could see." And his daughter said, "Yeah, Dad, people are dying to get here." Yeah. You know how we use
put
that
a fence around.
We use that phrase, But it's kind of sobering when I kind of thought about that. I mean, you get one life, and when we talk about Jesus is greater and the same yesterday, today, forever. I mean, what are your other options here?
Yeah.
I mean, you have one life, and it's actually moving a lot faster. For some reason, the older you get, it seems like it's somebody pushed a fast forward button.
Telling you.
And
You relate to that, Dad?
Oh, I woke up one morning, I said, I'm crowding 80. I said, Miss Kay.
And it was today.
Keep the faith, because we're on the last leg of this thing.
Yeah.
But it sure is a fine, natural reality when you get right down to it. Life's short and full of trouble.
When you read that verse in James, it says it's a whisper, it's a vapor.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense when you look at it in terms of that.
You bet it does.
Yeah, but I mean, when you talk about Jesus is great, I mean, you think about what he does for our past. I mean, he shows his love in Jesus and just takes away our past. I mean, that verse in Hebrews where it says that y'all had done before, where he remembers our sins no more. I mean, it's like done, over.
Yeah.
And then when you think about the present, well, he's got a purpose for us. And you look around on the planet to the small percentage that's alive compared to the dead, and we're like, hey, there's a way off the planet. There's a way to live forever. There's a way to have purpose. And then when you think about our future, well, I'm saying, whether you believe in God or not, the future must be addressed at some point.
Exactly. So my 3 points, Jase, were a new unshakable kingdom, because you think about how shaken, that's in that text. Everything else is shaky in the world. Kingdom, no. A new unashamed lifestyle, which was 13:1-6. It has a little practical run about.
Did you give him a little plug for the podcast there?
Oh, yeah, always. And then the third one was a new unflappable leadership, because we put in new elders yesterday, and it was that text where it talks about the leadership and imitate their way of life. So that was the 3 points.
I watched that age group play little ball.
Yeah.
Out in there waiting on the school bus.
I know it.
Jep was with him.
It's pretty neat. It's the first time, Dad, in our era of this whole thing of leadership, that we actually saw a kid that grew up now has joined the ranks of a shepherd. So it
seems so quick.
It was a neat Sunday. We had everybody in one room yesterday, which made it exciting. I was so proud of Mom because when the elders and their wives got up on stage, she got up there. She tracked her way up on stage and made it, which was really good. She had to have a little help, but she made it. So I was proud of
So
her.
you read Hebrews 12:22 through what?
Yeah, started in
24.
Started,
Oh, you did the whole section?
I did the whole section, 18 all the way through 13:8. That was the section. It was a lot of text.
But I'll read that 22 through 24. I really think it's everything culminating.
It's so good.
It says, "You have come to Mount Zion, the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. You've come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly, to the church of the firstborn whose names are written in heaven. You've come to God, the judge of all men, to the spirits of righteous men made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of a new and better covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel."
That's it. And then at the end of that, it says that you have now received an unshakable kingdom.
Yep.
It's just so powerful that the picture of it, the language, and of course, we talked so much about it on the podcast and the power of it. So somebody said, "Man, y'all did such a good job with that text." I said, that text did a good job on its own. I just needed to stay out of the way from
But it took me years, even following Jesus, to realize that when I saw kingdom in church, that it wasn't talking about a building.
Yeah.
And that's the common theme to what we've been talking about in Ephesians, Ephesians 2:20 and 21. People rise up as the temple of God, the kingdom of God.
Yep.
And it's a place where he dwells through his Holy Spirit.
But the writer did such a good job of, that's why I include that first section, Jace, of showing Mount Sinai and the gloom and the doom and the fear that comes from law and trying to accomplish it on your own versus what the kingdom does. So at the beginning of the sermon, I told a story because we had some guests there that are also here today, so we're about to have them on, that were in the audience. And so I said, I saw a great example of kingdom lifestyle in the Olympics of all places. And I told the story. So they're here today. So I'm going to save that for when we have them on. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got some very special guests that have made their way all the way to Louisiana. And we'll tell you more about them when they get here.
Hey guys, Zach here. I want to tell you about one of our new sponsors, Lassie Health, which, by the way, you can check this out at healthylink.com/Phil to learn all about this. But this is an incredible plan for those of us out there who do not have adequate health insurance. Maybe we're underinsured, maybe we're uninsured. If you're like me, you're going to love this plan. I've actually signed up for it. I'm using it right now. I've started with just the first tier 1 plan that starts at $30 a month. I'm using this. I've actually been able to schedule an appointment with a physician when I was sick. And if you heard any of our last episodes, you heard my voice. I lost my voice, got on an antibiotic. So you can get these antibiotics. I think there's like over 400 generic drugs that you can get for free under this plan. Things like amoxicillin, Augmentin, Cipro, antidepressants like Zoloft, Paxil, Prozac, ED drugs for like Viagra, Cialis, hair loss treatments like minoxidil. There's a ton of medicines and medications that you can get on this plan, the generic formulations of them, and it's covered in it for just $30 a month. So for the $30 a month plan, this is what you get. This is the one I have. You get over 400 prescription medications for free. Some of them I already mentioned, but there's a host of other ones. You get free unlimited virtual mental health care counseling. You get free 24/7 virtual urgent care. You get up to 60% on your lab tests off. You get on imaging, you get up to 75% off. And then any procedure that you need to schedule, you need a colonoscopy. My wife got a mammogram. You get up to 50% off of those procedures. You can even get plans with vision and dental coverage, primary care, comprehensive health share coverages. It's all there, and people are saving thousands on everything from MRI scans to ER visits, hospitalizations, and more. And by the way, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes are not considered pre-existing conditions if you have those. So don't worry about that. As long as you haven't been hospitalized in the last 12 months before you enroll, you are eligible. So go check it out. You get the first month for free for a limited time, up to $100 off eligible plans by going to healthylink.com/Phil. Got to use our code, healthylink.com/Phil. You guys got to check this out.
Welcome back. We have the Malones here. J.D., welcome to Unashamed.
Thank you for having us.
And Brody, welcome to Unashamed.
Thank you.
So I told your story as it happened on the podcast, whenever it happened, I guess 2 weeks ago, and that I was watching the Olympics, and so we got into it because Jase was like, "Oh, the Olympics," they had the opening ceremony, which a lot of people unfortunately were like that because it was so off-putting that they didn't even give the Olympics a chance. Luckily for me, I didn't see the opening ceremony, but I watched the Olympics because I love it, and so I was watching one night. It was the men's gymnastics, which Brody is a member of that team. And so, like everything else, I'm getting excited, because y'all are just doing it, and you're nailing everything, and we're all into it. And then they pan up and show JD, and he's wearing this hat he's got on here. So my phone starts blowing up, and they're like, "Have you seen this guy at the Paris Olympics? He's wearing the gospel symbols." And I was like, and I had not seen you at that point. And about that time, I look up and there it shows you on camera, and I was like, "Man, these people are our people." The gospel message is being shown right now, and the men's gymnastics team is doing great. So It was super exciting, and I was like,
Now, how long ago was this happening for you?
"This was 2 weeks. Is it 3 weeks?"
I don't even.
Yeah,
know.
we're kind of like
My
y'all.
time is all.
Well,
2 or 3 weeks ago.
I had this experience this morning.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching the
Chase never
Olympics
watched the Olympics.
backwards.
Right.
Like, I let it all happen, and now I'm going back and watching. I knew you were going to be on today, so I was like, check this out, And so,
Were you getting fired up when you were watching?
when my wife because I get up early, and when she came out, I was like, we just won the bronze medal. And it was awesome. But they kept showing you so much also. I mean, you were getting so much airtime because I realized in that moment, it's one thing to be up on these, whatever devious mind constructed these things that y'all are supposed to get on and do trick. Just think about it. Have you ever thought about that?
I hadn't.
Somebody was sitting in a room and thought, okay, we don't want them to die, but
we want to get them as close.
How close can we get?
How close can we get there?
Yeah. So, then I can't imagine if I was a parent, because I had the same somewhat lesser experience in like Little League baseball, when your son is up and there's 2 outs and we need the hit. All of a sudden, I'm like, my kid's playing baseball. We're going to have fun. But I realize everybody's looking at me now saying, well, I hope he don't blow it here. There's something about that feeling that creates drama, and I think that's what
and part of it had been, and I'll let you speak to this, Brody, is that in qualifying, you guys you just barely got in, or I guess, or how does that work?
We qualified in 5th place, and they take 8 to the final. So
So you were well within the structure, because I didn't see any of the early stuff.
Yeah,
but then they kept mentioning you in particular. They were like, he struggled in the preliminaries, but he's nailing it today, So, and I had not seen the earlier stuff, so I didn't know. So, was it? Did you have a struggle bus on
I did, don't go back and watch the first day. That was one of the worst meets of my life,
Agreed.
for sure.
What were you thinking, JD, when you were watching that? Were you just because you were in tears? Like they kept showing a clip of you once the night. Brody's nailing everything.
Yeah.
And it showed you, and you were crying. I could tell you were.
There was some tears of joy.
Yeah.
You know, when I've got 4 kids, and they're just, I think they're exceptional. But at this level, you see your kid, and you've spent so many hours going back and forth to gym and sitting and waiting, and the whole family sacrificed for this, and to see it. Actually, the goal this year was for the team to medal, because we've not medaled in
16 years.
16 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that was the goal that the team had set, and to see your son, with a team work so hard and achieve a goal. It doesn't matter what kind of goal. When you're a parent, you get excited to see your kids achieve something. But yeah, they were tears of joy. The first day was
Tears of sadness.
I didn't cry. I was like everybody else. What's up with Brody? Because that's not his norm.
You're a 3-time national champion.
I believe so.
I think so here.
Yes,
so,
sir.
I mean, you're very accomplished.
Yeah, I saw a lot of achievements in your.
Yeah, so you're
bio when I was
obviously been
looking
great.
at it.
And you went to Stanford, which
Yes,
which
sir.
you and I had fun with that yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, Georgia. This is a country boy, Jay. This guy likes to hunt.
Well, as soon as we introduced ourselves to each other, I was like, he's from the country.
Yep.
and his brothers are even more redneck than him. They're here today too. So you're a
California
little more
changed it.
accomplished, I think, because you've been out there in the world a while. So
Yeah.
But what was it like being in Palo Alto, California for Georgia boy? Was that a shock to your system?
Oh my God, yeah, that was a shock. It's a different world out there
Yeah.
than what I grew up with. I remember the first summer I went out there. I was talking to one of my professors, and I kept saying yes sir, no sir, and then finally we were just having a conversation. He stopped me in the middle of it. He goes, "Brody, you do not have to call me sir. This is California." And I was like, "What?"
Like that would change for you, right?
Yeah,
you were
I
taught that's
can't
what
do
you
it.
did. Yeah.
It's habit now.
That's exactly right.
Or the lady that basically blessed you out for holding the door open for her.
Oh yeah,
and he
that
calls
was
me. He's
one
like,
of
"What
the,
do I do? Keep holding the door open." Son.
Yeah, I held
Yeah.
the door to going into one of the cafeterias, and this lady with 3 little kids, I held it for all 3 of them, and then she just walked in, didn't even look at me, and I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
wait a second, that's weird."
And you know, it's so funny because women in the South or men, everybody's so appreciative
Yes,
when you
sir.
take a second and do that. You know, they're just like, "Thank you for that." You know, I
Yeah.
do it all the time. Which is
Every
crazy.
time I go to New York, I'm reminded they don't like it when you hold the door.
Yeah.
And they're actually offended, which I'm really not sure why.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
don't
make
get it.
sense.
I
But
don't
you're
make
right.
sense
You
at
just
all.
got to keep doing it. So so super exciting. The when you're watching it, as I was watching it that night, you could tell it was building to you guys meddling. And of course, you know, you never know where you're going to be. The other guys were the Japanese and the Chinese were so good. You
Mhm.
know, it was like then it kind of came down to us, U.S. and Great Britain, as to who was going to snag that last medal.
Yes, sir.
But man, just the excitement building, it built in you because you were kind of stoic at first.
Yeah.
Then you're just going nuts by the time you get to the last 2 things.
yeah, I let it go a little bit there. I'm usually not one to do that. I'm pretty straight faced.
but the audience, everybody was into you guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was the most fun competition I've ever been in
Yeah.
because everyone in the audience. I mean, between every rotation, I don't know if they showed any of that on TV or not, but everyone
not
was
seen it.
chanting for us.
Yeah.
You know, USA, USA.
Oh,
And
yeah. I could hear it.
It was awesome. I've never been in a competition like that.
Yeah, you could definitely tell watching that the audience, everybody was building for you guys.
Yeah, and to
which
have
was-
that in a foreign country,
yeah,
that was pretty incredible.
it was pretty exciting.
I was wondering how you're from Georgia, right? Or originally y'all were in
Tennessee originally.
My 2 older ones were born in Tennessee. I'm from Northeast Tennessee, up around Elizabethton, Tennessee, home of Jason Witten.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But his granddad was actually my football coach in high school. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, pretty neat. But we moved to Georgia, I guess when you were in kindergarten, right?
I was 5 or 6. I
Yeah.
don't
My
know.
wife's family was from Marietta, Georgia. So we wanted to be close, but not too close. So I found a little double wide in a spot of land, and we lived there for a couple of years and built the house right in front of the double wide. So
Okay. Well, I was just wondering how this gets started because usually, guys from the South,
Yeah.
you think they get into football or baseball.
well, he was.
Yeah, I did all
Yeah.
sports when I was growing up. Baseball was my big one, though. I played. I mean, when did you make me?
12 years old.
Decide.
After that, we made it to the World Series, Dizzy Dean World Series twice. And the last one, the parents, man, it was just, if they would high fence the outside and put razor wire at the top and make the parents watch from the parking
Now
lot,
we're talking.
it would be
Jazz,
okay.
you know that experience.
I've done multiple stories and episodes on this podcast about that, which is why I became a coach in my
Yeah.
son's last year because I thought I'm going to give him 1 year where it should be done right. And I stopped my life to do it for that year.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, the parents I said, you don't get involved. And so I've told this story many times, but you'll find it funny. I made the parents sign an agreement that I had the power to throw them out of the game if I deemed they were doing something that wasn't helping their kid.
Yeah.
And of course, you think that's never going to happen. 5 seconds into the first game, I called a timeout, pulled our starting pitcher, and threw his mom out of the arena. And the umpire's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm throwing this parent out of the game."
I'm doing your job.
You should have done that. So, but it had a happy ending because we all came back together. We provided a happy place for those kids. They got better. You know, our coaching staff was a guru filled with baseball minds that weren't affiliated with the kids. They just loved the Lord, loved kids, and loved baseball. And we just
that's a good combination.
Combined
Right
that.
there,
Yeah, we never argued any kind of controversial call or never. It was all positive. And we had a great year, won the league. But so I sympathize with you on that. But it's very difficult even in that experience. I saw with the parents, there was multiple conversations and tears. But then, fortunately, we got into people's lives. And then Jesus kind of entered the arena. And we actually brought several people to the Lord during that 1 year.
Zach, when you were young, did you eat a lot of liver, like liver and onions?
Never did it. It wasn't my thing. Did you?
No, I did not. It smelled so good when it was frying. Didn't taste so good.
Every time we talk about this, I have a jingle. Don't be out on the river with problems in your liver.
That's the new jingle. We'll have to tell our good friends at Liver Health Formula about that one. Yeah, so Zach, you and I had some high liver enzymes last year. How's your liver doing now?
It's doing really good. I'm back to normal.
Really good.
Really good.
That's good.
And it was because we took Liver Health Formula. So here's what happens with the liver. It's sort of your body's filter system, but it leads to other issues if your liver's not healthy. The American Heart Association says that adults with fatty liver are 3.5 times more likely to have heart failure than those without. And this affects 100 million Americans a year. Obviously, it affected Zach and I because we throw everything at our liver. And your liver has to have 500 key functions every single day. So our solution was Liver Health Formula. It's an all-natural supplement. It contains 11 clinically proven botanicals that help recharge and protect your liver. Zach and I have taken this product. I continue to take it just to keep mine healthy. So if you're looking to ignite your fat-burning metabolism, boost your energy, and transform how you look and feel, try Liver Health Formula. Receive a free bottle of blood sugar formula to reduce your sugar cravings when you order today. Try Liver Health Formula by going to getliverhelp.com/unashamed. That's getliverhelp.com/unashamed and get your free bonus gift today.
It was awesome.
So I was thinking about yesterday. So I announced yesterday when I said in the sermon they were here, and then I had them stand up. I mean, it was a thunderous applause in our church yesterday, which made me proud of our church because everybody there was already aware of not only just the Olympics but also you wearing this hat and so here's the question I got, and I don't know the answer. So who took? Because I know I saw a lot of people over there meeting y'all, and y'all were taking some pictures yesterday. Who took more pictures, you with the hat or Brody the Olympian?
I think it was him.
And I thought you would say it because, these were originated here.
Oh, yeah.
And so, in fact, I saw Kim Stevens there, which is her dad was Bill Smith.
That was the highlight to me. I mean, so what Pastor Bill done was something so simple right there.
Yeah.
Shared it with Phil.
Yep.
Bill converted me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so that message right there, that's when I found out, because I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the trials I was at. People kept asking me what my hat meant. Well, it was a Salt Lick Cattle Company. A friend of ours got a cattle company, and I had it on. So when we went to the Olympics, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give them something to look at. If they're looking at my hat
and they're asking questions,
let's give them
it's
something.
The greatest question ever is, what is that?
What does that mean?
Oh man, you wouldn't believe the people that would, not text but message you on social media. What's your hat mean? I see the cross, but it's just so simple.
Yeah.
And it is the entire message of the Gospels.
I whipped it out when I talked to one
Donald J. Trump.
Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
That's what he used with
I
Trump.
figured I set him up by showing him on a piece of paper. I just wrote it down, what's on your hat.
Yeah.
And he looked at it and he said, "What is that?" I said, "I'm glad you asked."
And
So-
Phil, that's amazing because you'd think, Trump has the persona of knowing everything. So when he's asking you, what is that?
He actually didn't know what I was
He
talking
did
about.
not know that.
He wouldn't have known.
And I
what that
turned to
was.
walk away after I went through the gospel with him and showed him each arrow, what it stood for. I said, "Whatever happens, I'll vote for you." I said, "Whatever happens, don't forget that." So I started walking away and he said, "Hey." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I have that?" I said, "Sure." So from there,
Yeah, he gave him what he shared. Well, I kind of hijacked the first question, but I was wondering how you got into gymnastics. I mean, what?
Oh yeah, that was a question, wasn't it?
Yeah, we never answered that question.
You were 3, right?
I was 3. He could probably tell the story a little bit.
You were 3 years old.
I was 3, yes sir.
And you said gymnastics.
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, look at me, Jason.
I was kidding. Look,
Gymnastics is not
90%
what I
of
would-
what I'm going to
was thinking.
say.
they have a horse farm, Jay. So,
Some friends, one of the guys I rope with, a good friend of mine, his wife and my wife were good friends. Well, he played football in college with a guy that opened a gym in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Okay.
So the wives got together, decided to sign the boys up for gymnastics, and I was like, whoa. Because, as a guy growing up, I mean, I was a 3-sporter up until high school and then played football and baseball, but
one of
you know,
those sports was not gymnastics.
it was not gymnastics. I mean, I'm kind of like everybody else. The only time you see it's during the Olympics. But
Yeah.
we signed him up, and he had broke his arm, jumped out of the crib and broke his arm. And Tracy was like, "Gotta do something."
He was
So that's where it really started.
Honest and
he was
truly,
in the
that's
trying
where
to
it
land
started.
that double backflip
Yeah.
out of the crib and broke
bones
his
are
arm.
breaking.
said, "Let me."
Yeah.
So there you were in the crib, and you said, "I think I can stick this landing."
Oh yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing, though? I think that is a true side. There.
Well, they were telling me yesterday because Doc, one of my grandsons, he has a proclivity to. I think he would be a good gymnast. And,
Oh, yeah.
and man, after he spent 10 minutes with Brody, he was doing things he's never done before. So we were all
Yeah.
remarking about that. But I said, how many times did Brody climb the walls and wind up at the top of the seat? Because that's what Doc does all the time. Look over and he's up in the corner of the house, because
Yeah, any kind of door frame, it was big enough for any of the kids really to get their feet on. They were, you'd look up, you'd hear something, you'd have to look up because they was in the door frame, way up in there.
You would climb like Spider-Man?
Oh, yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, I was curious. I was wondering if
Yeah.
that was a story. I think jumping out of the crib, because we have a little one that we keep now, and of course he'll bang on the wall very loudly. It's like, "Come get me, I'm awake,"
Yeah.
But Missy, she said, "I need to get him a regular bed," and I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Well, I don't want him to jump out of it," and I actually said, "Well, who would jump out of that?" I mean,
One right there,
now
man.
Brody Malone.
I'm gonna go straight home and say, "Buy the bed."
You better get a little bit of a thing over the top where you can't get in there.
Well, I was wondering that because I mean, we were talking about before we got started. I guess I didn't really appreciate gymnastics until I saw these apparatuses, and I did an event somewhere. I was telling y'all about it, and they had the balance beam, which I know y'all don't do that, but the women
Yeah.
do. But I'm gonna be honest. Now, this is a few years ago, when I was in a lot better shape and younger. I couldn't get on it. And I was going to try to get on it and just go, I got on it. That, how you, at the end.
Ta-da.
Yeah, I stuck no. And so I realized, man, there was some devious minds coming up
Oh yeah,
with these.
yeah. The beam is 4 inches wide.
Yeah.
That's pretty
And it's
crazy.
higher up there than you think.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. So I got a lot of appreciation because it's one thing to get on it, but you do all these, you're doing all the tricks and the drama because deep down you have a possibility of danger. I mean, how many injuries have you had during your career?
Yeah, so I've had one major injury. So actually,
And that was just
which is
last
pretty
year,
incredible
right?
that it's just one.
Yeah, so I was very blessed to not deal with a lot of major injuries. But last
Waiting
year
for you.
I was in Germany competing, and it was a fluke. I was doing a high bar routine, and on my dismount, my hand peeled off the bar, and I did like a weird double back with a half turn, and then I landed on my right leg and dislocated my knee. Fractured my tibial plateau, tore my meniscus, LCL, posterior lateral corner, which is like the back of your hamstring.
Yeah, those words, I don't ever hear those words.
No,
You never even knew you had
Bill,
that.
when you start hearing those words, that means it's not good.
That means a blowout. You blew it out.
Oh yeah, it was blown out for sure.
And they actually mentioned it when you were doing the high bar the last night. They mentioned the little guy is so excited. He said, "This is where he blew his leg out last year." Like we were all anticipating. I said, "Man, I hope he nails it," because you were making me. He was making me nervous.
So weird you're bringing that guy up because I thought, man, this guy.
He was into it.
Yeah, the guy calling all this.
Oh, yeah.
It's not. I mean, we get it. This drama feel, but then he.
He was taking it to another level of drama. Yeah,
I need to watch it. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's
Justin
I think
funny.
you'll like it. You know.
Oh, I think it was Justin
Justin
Spring. That
Spring,
sounds
he-
and
like
he's
him.
You can
gymnast,
actually
right?
tell he's
Yeah.
rooting for America.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man, he
Yeah.
loves the U.S.
He just can't help it.
So, Jace, our good friends at Helix Mattress remind us of the importance of sleep. You kind of get that taking care of your godson, or
Well, all you got to do is go spend a couple of evenings at a hospital bed and what you have to sleep there. You want long-term chronic back illness. But I'm going to tell you this. When you get home and you lay back in that Helix, you're like, okay, I think we're going to make it.
we're going to be good. Helix Sleep is a premium mattress brand. They offer 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe collection, a mattress for big and tall sleepers. They have them for kids as well. I think, Zach, you have one for your kiddos. And now they're offering their most premium mattresses yet, the new Helix Elite collection, and they have a built-in cooling cover, which is very important when you get, like Lisa and I guess I'm mimicking her hot flashes because I get super hot at night, so this is great for me. They have a 100-night trial for you to try out your new Helix mattress, which is fantastic. They know that everybody is unique, and so you need a unique sleep experience. They have models with memory foam layers, models with more responsive foam to cradle your body, the cooling I mentioned. So a lot of cool things. You go to take a quiz, the Helix Sleep Quiz. I was matched with a Moonlight model because I wanted something that felt sort of in the middle. I don't like it too hard, too soft. And I sleep on my back, so that helps me. So you go there, you're going to find exactly what fits you. When you order it, it's going to be delivered straight to your door for free. They've been awarded the #1 mattress picked by Wired Magazine. Lots of leading chiropractors and doctors say this is what you need to go with. They have a 10 or 15-year warranty, depending on the model that you get. So here's what you do. Helix is offering 25% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/unashamed. That's helixsleep.com/unashamed. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. The only thing you share with the women is the floor routine, right? In
Floor and vault.
vault. Oh, that's
Yes,
right.
sir.
That's right.
Yeah.
The vault. So 2 of, and then the pommel horse is kind of like their beam, and
Yes,
then you've
sir.
got the 1 bar for y'all and the 2 for them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then we also have parallel bars and rings.
They've got
Oh yeah, rings.
So we have
Yeah, they've
6
got-
events
that's
total.
right.
Yeah, the
women
rings
have
looks
4.
extremely difficult.
Yeah, rings is hard.
You know.
What's the hardest one out of the 6 for you?
I mean, the hardest one for me is definitely pommel horse. So I don't have a very good body type for pommel horse. I mean, if you look at, have
so
y'all
the
seen
little Clark Kent guy?
Yeah.
So
The-
that's
the
all he
pommel horse
did,
guy.
right?
Yeah. So if you look at me and him, I'm a lot bigger than him. He's kind of skinny and lanky. That's kind of the body type you want for pommel
okay.
horse. That's why he's a specialist.
Right.
But yeah, that's the hard one for me.
Yeah. And he's gotten a lot of attention because he did the
Oh,
one thing.
yeah,
and
he
he did
blew
the
up.
last one that kind of sealed the deal,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah.
He blew up. That was
Yeah.
kind of crazy. I don't think anyone was expecting.
What's he
that.
like? I was curious because he looks like nerdy. Is he like that or is that not?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
very nerdy.
Okay, good. Well, the glass, who's sending gymnasts with glasses on? It just didn't look quite right.
Yeah, no,
Is he the one that would kind of sit by himself over there?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Because he just had the one thing, Jace, that he did. He's a
I
special.
know, but and then like I
But
noticed.
then they were like carrying him off, and it
Yeah.
was such a cool thing because it was like the little nerdy kid that always gets picked on, and here he is, like the.
Well, there was one scene where I think it was after when y'all were trying to win the bronze, and everybody was, yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
But he was just sitting there. But then he looked at the camera and
yeah.
smiled.
Steve.
It was
I think
it
that
was
was,
pretty
yeah.
funny.
I think that was right after.
I was
March,
wondering what
yeah.
the camaraderie was among the team and how all that works.
Yeah, I mean,
There's people all over the country.
Yeah, so men's gymnastics is kind of a small sport. So most of us on national team have grown up together since we were little.
Oh, so you've been knowing all these guys for years.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And y'all have competed at a ton of stuff because people don't realize because you only watch the Olympics every 4 years. It's like, hey, they all got together for the Olympics, but you guys been doing this.
We do it. I mean,
every
it's
year. You
every
do
year,
meets
yep.
and yeah.
Yes, sir.
I always like it when
See, I didn't know that.
Oh, they do, yeah, and it's actually a lot of it, like world championships and all that. They'll televise it. And, you know, it'll be on, but just people don't watch as much because it's not the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly.
And we haven't won a whole lot. Right?
Yeah, and we haven't won a whole lot.
The girls, the women have been very successful.
Yeah, so
most
they're
of the time. So.
in the U.S. They're a lot more popular.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
a lot more publicity and stuff. I mean, rightfully so. They do their job and they win.
So how much do you train? How much training goes on this on a yearly basis? I mean, the last 4 years of your life.
I mean, you don't take time off really. It's year round.
It's year round. It's
mhm.
like 7, 8 hours a day, or I mean, what?
I mean, I'll train anywhere from like 3 to 6 hours a day.
Oh my
that's
goodness.
not including the extra stuff that I'll do, like getting treatment on all my body parts that hurt. Physical therapy's been a big one for me this year with my knee injury. I mean, I would spend 4 or 5 hours at practice and then do PT for another hour and a half.
So when you were
Wow.
first coming out of that, were you having to wear a brace and stuff like that when you were?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was. I mean, I'll just give you all the rundown of it. So when I got injured, I had a surgery in Germany to put an external fixator in my leg. So I had this giant hunk of metal sticking out of my leg to basically lock it in place. And I flew all the way back to Stanford, where I got my second surgery, where they fixed. I've got 9 screws and 2 plates in the side of my knee, where they fixed the fracture. And then they also fixed my meniscus, and then they did they called a microfracture procedure to repair some of the cartilage. And I was on crutches for 6 weeks then.
Wow.
And so, I mean, the first couple of weeks, I couldn't even hardly get out of the bed. It was pretty bad. But once I was able to get a little bit more mobile, I was kind of back in the gym doing, strength and conditioning, doing pretty much whatever I could. And then a couple months after that, I had my third surgery where they fixed my LCL and the back of my hamstring. And I was on crutches again for 4 weeks. So I basically had to relearn how to walk twice.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Pretty amazing. A year later, you're out there competing for the Olympics.
Yeah,
Oh, they
it's-
didn't even think he was going to be doing gymnastics. When we were out there at Stanford, the doc, I heard him, and man, they had just some outstanding surgeons and doctors.
Mhm.
But so I heard him out in the hall talking to, I think it was Coach Tom. His collegiate coach was with him over there at Worlds, and he was just tore out of frame. And the doctor's like, look, he probably won't do gymnastics ever again. He's going to be lucky to walk normal. And I got the doctor out in the hall. Well, he was out there, and I went out there, and I don't think you heard that,
I didn't hear that.
but like I told him, I was like, look, you don't understand my son, and you don't understand what God's doing right here. So that's not going to be mentioned back in this room.
Have you talked to him since?
No.
Well, tell him right now. Hey, Doc.
Yeah.
Remember that conversation we had about
I
what
was kidding. Well, that kind of stuff, you're like,
It was funny because I was at a my daughter plays travel ball. She plays travel volleyball. So I was watching on my phone and I couldn't, when I seen it happen, I mean, I like to think that all my kids have a pretty high pain tolerance and they're tough. I mean, Cooper tore his ACL bulldogging and won the bulldogging and then limped out of the arena, finished team roping that night. And Tyler's, you want to think, our old Phil's like, who's a man? So
Exactly.
they got a little bit of that growing up
Put
too.
butterfly on it.
Yeah. So
so tell the truth. When you were training him as a little kid, when he had to stick the landing, you would put all these stakes
yeah,
around,
Yeah.
and it's like you got one spot. You fall down, snake gonna. Did you
that would be pretty good motivation there to stick the landing.
I've thought that it would make it more interesting.
Yeah.
When you were running and you jump on the board, if they just had a big tub of crocodiles and alligators.
They wouldn't nobody step out of bands or fall off the mats then.
I mean, y'all being from the South, this is my kind of gymnastics.
I like that.
If you wanted to get it to catch
All
on,
this redneck
do
gymnastics.
this.
Yeah.
There's always got to be a death element involved. So, we want to be able to support businesses that love America, right? That's kind of one of our goals, Jase, that we try to do as much as we can. And that's not always easy to do because sometimes corporations, don't agree with us. And so we need someone to come along that provides what we need. And that's what Patriot Mobile has done. For 10 years, they're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They have dependable nationwide coverage that gives you the ability to access all three major networks. You get the coverage that you're used to without funding what you don't believe in. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're letting everyone know you support free speech, religious liberty, sanctity of life, Second Amendment, and of course our great military veterans and first responders. If that isn't enough, they also have a 100% U.S.-based customer service team that makes switching to Patriot Mobile easy. You can keep your number and your phone, or you can upgrade. They'll help you find the best deal and a plan that fits your needs. If you go to patriotmobile.com/Phil or call 972-PATRIOT, right now you get a free month when you use the offer code PHIL. So join us, switch to America's only Christian conservative mobile provider, Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/Phil or call them at 972-PATRIOT for your free month of service today.
When he did that and I'm watching, that's, as a parent, that's a pretty helpless feeling because I'm watching him in pain and I saw it happen. So I knew it was bad that he didn't get up. So I'm texting the coaches, trying to get a hold of somebody. And so I get out of the bleachers. I'm going down praying, of course. And all of a sudden, it was like a peace just hit me. And it was God it was like, look, I'm doing something here. Just I got him.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about it before, but I think you had that same feeling.
I did, yeah, laying on the mat.
Yeah. So I mean, all this leading up to it's what we call an Olympic year, and that's the goal that you want to see, and then all of a sudden, wow, here comes this trial. But the parent in me, the flesh side of it was like I was wanting to get to my kid to see what was wrong, and then that peace, man. I mean, I can't. I'm sure y'all have had it. That's how I know. Usually, it's God speaking to me. Is that just that calm peace, But then when I talked to him, he actually called me in the ambulance ride, and it's that woo woo, those weird sirens over there.
Yeah.
And I was like, buddy, you all right? He's like, it hurts, Dad. It hurts. But I could tell just by talking to him, it wasn't like
he wasn't panicked. Yeah.
Nope, not at all. And then he,
That's pretty amazing for a young guy, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think anybody would have thought
Any
that
less
of you.
right.
If you're like, well, that's a career-ending injury. Or,
what did you like, did you have the same thoughts as Dad did?
Yeah, I remember like as soon as it happened. I mean, I my knee dislocated. I remember I grabbed it like this because I was like, "Ow, that hurt." And then like I like waved for the medical to come over, and they finally come over, and they had to straighten my knee back out, and they had to like put a wrap on it to stabilize it, and then getting on the gurney and everything, and like just going through that whole process, I was like, it just went through my mind. I was like, why did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it was a fluke accident.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that doesn't happen often. You
And
don't
one of
slip
the
off
best high
bar.
bar routines he's ever done.
Yeah, it was a
a
pretty
gold
good
medal.
routine.
Yeah.
Another gold medal.
was a
When
pretty
you
good
landed,
routine.
you just went down.
It just collapsed.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, it collapsed, and the video's pretty gross. I mean, I was laying there, and all these doctors and everybody's trying to get me to get on this ambulance, and I was just thinking, why? Like, why did this happen? Like, and then I was like, you know what, God, I know this sucks in the moment, but I know you've got a plan for me, and I'm just gonna trust you. And then immediately, I just felt at peace about it.
That's so good.
Wow.
And that is so kingdom mindset living
Mhm.
because he did have a plan.
Yeah.
And I think just like even in the Olympics, when you're talking about having a bad night and then coming back and having an amazing night when it really counted,
Yes, sir.
it's just, I mean, God did that. And then that led to, people seeing and it's just,
absolutely.
you see how it's all happened,
Oh, good.
for the reason.
Oh, you've single-handedly brought me back to the Olympics. Well,
Because Jace and I were arguing about it because he was like, I didn't even watch it after the thing. I said, Jace, these, and this is before I even knew y'all, but I was like, these kids, they're American kids, they're competing. Who cares what the stupid French do
I
with
mean,
it?
Al, you were right, and I, like a lot of people in the world, I underestimated spirit-filled people out there doing this for the Lord, and the fact that y'all are, duck hunters and what I would deem as ordinary
Sure.
people.
Yeah.
I realize
You're our people.
globally we're all known as weirdos, I guess, at this point of our lives, but that's okay, But because wow, what a heart! I mean, to me, I just immediately think, the fruit of the Spirit is joy and
Oh yeah.
love and peace, and these
Yeah.
are the kind of things. And we know that we were talking before about how much there is about suffering and struggling. I mean,
Yeah.
God never says you're not going to struggle and you're not going to suffer.
Tells us we
my,
will.
My favorite verse that kind of kept me going, I've got it pulled up right here, is James.
Yeah.
James 1:2-4.
Yeah.
It's consider it a great joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you experience various trials, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance, and let endurance have its full effect, so you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. It's weird to think about things like that, trials. I mean, especially like in my situation, what I was going through, it's hard to turn that into joy.
Yeah.
Like, consider it a joy that this happened to you, that my leg is broken and I'm not going to be able to walk for, a month and a half. So it was like this verse really helped me reframe what I was going through. And even though I felt a peace about what had happened, that didn't mean that, I wasn't still frustrated. And,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because going through this process, I'm a pretty active guy, and I was bedridden for about a month after my second surgery.
Had to
So-
pee in a bottle.
I had to pee in
Yeah.
to get up to pee was
Too
a
much.
stroke. Like, I couldn't do it.
Oh, wow.
So I
but-
wanted to mention that we only got a couple of minutes left, but because you guys have been through a lot anyway. You lost your wife to
I did.
cancer
Yes, sir.
12 years ago. So you were just 12
Yes,
at the
sir.
time. So obviously, and I mean, now I've gotten to meet with 3 of your boys
Yes,
and
sir.
I hadn't met your daughter, but obviously you did an amazing job as well as she did before,
Yeah, oh,
before
absolutely.
she crossed
Yeah.
over. But I think for people that hear that and then see the kind of kids you have, and especially, Brody more in the spotlight, I mean, it just says what God can do because you did it too. I mean, you were having to be both and you're having to, do what you did. And I think you see the results. You see the fruit of what happens when
Oh,
somebody gets,
absolutely.
which
I mean,
has to make you feel good.
yeah, you can't. So I was talking to Lisa. I don't know how people get through stuff in life without having God
Yeah.
to rely on.
Right.
I mean, I just don't. I mean, I can remember, when I lost Trace when she passed away. I can remember there's certain things that it's painted in your mind. And I can remember trying to figure out how I was going to tell these boys, that what are we going to do? Just trying to think how I was going to do it. And I walked them down to the chapel there and I was praying the whole time, just walking my 3 boys down there. And Brody was 12, Cooper was 10, and Ty, I don't even remember, 6, 7 years old. And, my daughter was so small.
Yeah, she's little.
She wasn't understanding what was, Mom was sick.
Yeah.
Trace had been sick her entire
life.
Briley's entire life. But I remember going down there and the only place I could think of was the little chapel in the hospital, and having to tell them that, look, you're going to, this is it. You need to say you buys to your mom that she's not going to be here. So I'm telling them that and trying to muster up that strength to do it. And, in my mind, I'm just talking to God the entire time. And so I tell them, and, I think it sinks in with them, but they're still young, but they go up and, we've made pallets in the floor and the kids slept, in the floor, and they were really good at the hospital. But from that point on, my life was it's funny how during the trials, he brings you closer to him.
Yeah.
And then after the trial, your flesh side kind of gets you, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So my walk has been up and down.
Yep.
And way smoother when I've put God first in it. But there's no way we could have got through that without.
Well, what a story! It made me think of this verse because we started this podcast before y'all came, talking about why Jesus is better, why he's greater. This is Proverbs 21:30 and 31, and there's a little part for you I have in here. It's kind of funny, but I want to read 30 that says, "There is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory rests with the Lord."
I like it.
So next time you see that pommel horse, you think of Proverbs 21. Well, I wanted to hear what's next before we end.
We're getting married in next May. And your fiance was on next to your dad, and she got some airtime as well. Yeah. Is it Serena?
Serena.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you got a lot of good things ahead, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, which is going to be great. So
and at this point, you can just show up and wave. I mean, I'm telling you.
All right, so before we leave there, show your medal. You got your medal in your pocket. We forgot to show that earlier. And,
wow. It's a lot bigger than I thought.
And feel how heavy it is.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
So there it is. Unashamed Nation. We are first and probably last Olympic medalist on the Unashamed podcast. There you go, Dad. Check it out.
Yeah.
The bronze medal. But anyway, thanks so much for y'all coming on, for your witness. For willing to put our gospel symbols out there for the world to see. What a blessing. And Brody, just for being who you are.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to have y'all back in duck hunt this year. So we're talking about, we're working on a trip. So, because they're into duck hunting too, Jace. They love to shoot a duck. So
wouldn't that be something if who needs a dog with him around? He could do a double back flip over the top of the blind, stick the
Y'all hear that,
Brody's
boys?
the retriever.
Brody is now the retriever.
All right.
So if you
your brothers are high-fiving back there.
So you want to see a retrieve? Watch this. Just out of the blind.
All right. So we love meeting the Malones. God bless
Thank
you
y'all
guys.
for having
Thank
us
you
very much.
on.
Thanks for listening to the Unashamed podcast. Help us out by rating us on iTunes. And don't miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube, and be sure to click that little bell to get notified about new episodes. And for even more content that you won't get anywhere else, subscribe to Blaze TV at blazetv.com/unashamed.